with a decal edge is the imperfection that you're embracing is intentional. So it won't matter, obviously, if this slightly rough edge shows. You won't have, you'll have one side, one of them will have decal on top and bottom, essentially.
We do already kind of have a rough, line anyway from the taping and the watercolor.
Right.
So it's perfect.
So now when you fold it, and you can always massage this before you make your ever final, that is the paper, to sort of coax it to go, depending on how you want it to be. If you're happy with it being slightly irregular, that's fine. And a good way to fold stuff is to crease it, is to take your tool, which is not that.
But the bone folders.
The bone folders, yeah. And go from the middle one direction and the middle the other direction. That way you don't get it to go bunching up, because the paper will move.
Oh, looks nice.
It'll walk in a way. Okay. And you can do all of your other folds if you want to make them nice and crisp or not. It doesn't matter. I guess you could tie it, do it
and
either
you could
side.
do it right side, because
Yeah.
most kids are right-handed.
Come in to start low and close, and then I keep it a short tear each time. Walking my hand that's holding the ruler along so the pressure stays. I'll then take a little break. I line it up with where I've been, and you see the nice decal that's happening there. And you want that rough, sort of rough looking edge. Pressure with my other hand, come back and kind of come as gently and as much pressure as you can get down here without being, you can't get in there because it's too wide. And just continue to tear until you get to the end. What that Okay, we're going to join these two pieces of accordion folded artwork, which could be considered to be the text block for this particular style of book, with a hinge or a tab. Often the tab would be part of this, but we didn't have that luxury in this particular case, so we've made a tab. So I'm going to attach it to both the one piece, essentially, if you want to think about it, the first and then the second,
Right.
and line them up. So I will put that one aside and pull out the glue stick and apply the glue carefully to this, holding on. I have a piece of scrap paper underneath your work, which you don't want glue to get on your work, of course. So I'm now going to, it doesn't matter that I tip this upside down, this has no right or wrong, up or down. I have to, on its fold, put it in here and line it up, and then using my fingers, and then I'm going to apply glue on the other side, and I don't have a bone folder handy, so I can't do, that's not a bone
Just do the
folder.
best you can with that.
All right, that's pretty sharp, but it'll do. And if we find there are gaps, we can go back in and add a little bit of glue. Now we're going to just check and see how we've joined it. And that's pretty good. So now it will fold. Whoops, we'll take this little tab off, which is just a reminder for us to do something. So now your book opens up this way. These two ends will be adhered to your covers, but we have to cover the outside of the covers first. So we'll set that aside. This is a template for us to put on our cover paper. so that we can take the piece of cover board, which is this space here, and cut it so that this paper will cover it. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to place it on the, and if it doesn't line up, then we'll have to make an extra cut because I see this doesn't want to line up particularly with that. That's okay. So we'll line it up on one side. I will draw around this because you're going to cut your cover paper out to be this shape. And these corners are cut away for the turn-ins, okay? And now we have made a pinhole here, which I will then take a pin, which we don't have right now. Okay, here we have a pin, good. And I'm going to go in each corner. This is just a mark. This is not an opening, but it's a good way to mark things. Okay, now I can remove this because what I'm going to do, that's still a template. I will line up, I'll make this for the video, I'll make these a little bit darker so you can see them. The pin marks. I'm going to line the cover board up with the pin marks. Okay. I'm going to hold it with my hand and I'm going to draw around so that when I go to put the glued side down, I know where to put it. Okay, so next thing I have to do is cut this out. So in this case, I'll cut it with scissors. So. So I'm going to take a piece of scrap paper, and sometimes it's not so terrible, but it's nicer if you have an opposite or a complementary color, like black under here, because you can see it a little more easily. Although, actually, what I'm going to glue up is the board. So I'm going to go, I have to glue with both surfaces. So I'm going to take the glue stick. That's Lucy barking in the background. She's doing her job of protecting the house. I'm going to glue the four sides to the board. So this looks to be clear because happily the glue stick is purple and I don't see any purple. The more careful you are with your work, the better your results, of course, will be. So what we're going to do is, seeing that this is essentially square, you normally take your short ends first and then your long, but they're all the same. But you do one side and then the opposite and then the same thing. So we'll start with this one. And again, I'm going to brush the glue stick out to the edge. Helps to work fast, but not crazy fast. I'm going to be careful and come along down here so the glue stick will stick. Okay, now we have glued these two accordions together to make a longer one, as I said. We've now got two pieces of tag board for our cover, and of course a front cover and a back cover. We're going to almost make a sandwich here, and what I'm doing now is essentially called jogging, and what that is really trying to tap in a way your piece into place as evenly as you can, and making sure in this case that our fold of the accordion is at the spine. So what we will do then is, when we think it looks pretty good, hold it down, keep holding, you need more than two hands. And then take one off, but leave one hand on. Kind of visually check. Looks pretty good. We can't mark it yet, but this is where we'll go forward from here. So we're going to cover these first. So we'll do that in just a moment after we get this ready. Take my finger underneath and kind of gently work it up by running my finger along the edge of the board. Then I'm going to carefully pull it over, and I'm not going to smooth it all in one direction at once. I'm going to go from the middle, the center out, and kind of come in this way as well. You got a lot of motion at the same time, but it's not hard. You're going to take your thumb and come in with this little tab, which is hard to show. We may have to show you in person rather than, and then this little tab will come pinch in like this. And you might, I don't know how well you can see that.
Pretty good.
Okay, so now that gives you one side, and I would take this, because this will have to be my bone folder, and I may have to come back and put a little more glue because I didn't maybe come out quite far enough. We'll see. So now I'm going to go to the opposite side, and I'm going to repeat, only this time I'll do myself a little bit of a favor and put it a little wider, and then I'll come this way. And then I'm going to come underneath. You kind of gently work it and bend it to come up. Run your finger along the edge like that. And then you're going to carefully pull it and spread away from the center so that you are not getting it all pushed up against one end. You're going to evenly distribute the paper. And sometimes paper, not so much probably with a glue stick, but other kinds of glue can expand because they get damp from your glue. And you're going to turn this little thing in, this little funny corner. Okay, now you're going to start to really see a little bone folding here. Okay. Now we're going to do this side, and I'm going to be a little more careful. I'm not going to cup up on that. I'm going to come down below this and come only on the board, not on the paper. The outer side of the paper, yes, but not the folded in already. Okay, that's got glue on it. I don't want that on my work. That one's got glue too, but this one does not. So now we'll come along and do that same thing, making sure our little corner is in as best we can get it in. And then we'll turn this, and again, work from the center out. And you can see your hands can do a lot of this work. You are actually massaging, in a way, the paper and making it literally do what you want it to do. And those are your corners.
Nice, beautiful work.
And so then, and see how nice it is to have had, it doesn't matter that matches, that will be covered by your book. So you'll only see that, and then the outside will be this. So we'll finish this off. I'm going to put just the glue on the board, and I'm going to work out. Now, one thing you could do if you wanted to would be to do your folding, although this paper is worked nicely, before you put the glue on it. I'm just to get it into, to have a memory essentially of where you want it to go. But now I'm going to come in, and you can see how I'm sort of, as I said, it's kind of like massaging it, and you're kind of forcing it to do what you want it to do. There's a nice little thing you can do after. I'll do this because this is my bone folder. Yeah. This just takes some of the sharpness off of your corner, makes it a little tidier. Again, if we need to, there's a little trick we can try. You can also do a little thing like that. So that is the cover that we're only gonna do the one cover because you can do the second, your back cover, or whichever this happens to be. So now what we're going to do is, when I mentioned, in a way, we're gonna jog this, we're only gonna be jogging one side, or the front cover. And we're going to try and make it as even as we can. The front edge, the foredge of the book here, if this is the spine, which we have our fold, the foredge can be somewhat larger or wider than your tail, your head and your tail. But you want the head and the tail, top and the bottom, to be as equal to each other as possible. Things are not always perfect when you make a handmade book, so you have to kind of say what will look best. Do I need to just move that a tiniest bit? Now, how do I get this to go where I want it? Well, the best thing is to make a very discreet pencil mark that hopefully we can go back and erase, so you don't want to gouge it, that you can also see when you're putting it together, enough so that you can, like the pinholes we made. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue. I'll have to glue both with the glue stick. So in some respects, a glue stick, while it works, it wouldn't be my choice necessarily, because that's okay. Glue stick is okay for certain things, but in the future, if you do other bigger things, glue that you put on with a brush in a particular way would work better. I'm now going to take this very carefully and find my marks, get rid of this because there's a lot of glue on that. I would turn that over on itself so that glue to glue and it won't hurt our work. So I need, here's a mark here, there's a mark there. Where's my spine going to be? I think it was like this. It almost doesn't matter as long as I have top to bottom. Now that looks pretty even, and I want to give it a little bit of a nudge, and I might, while it's still pliable, I might move it a tiniest bit away from that edge, just because the fold, again, handmade books are what they are, handmade books. They're not perfect. Perfection is not anything anyone wants to strive for anyway. It's ridiculous. There. Now, I think we're probably going to be okay, because we want our other board, and this should be pressed at this point, because I've got
Do you want to rub the glue in too?
a
On the
lot of
inside?
glue. Well, my hand will help that, and then this,
There it is.
like this.
You can put a piece of paper on top of it and rub
Yeah,
it.
you
so
can put a
protect
paper,
it.
whoops.
You don't want your work to be.
Yeah, you want to
Scratched
protect your paper.
Here you go.
If I
Just
had,
use this.
yeah, here's a sheet of paper, doesn't matter in this case. But, and your hand works pretty well. I mean, you set up a
Use a
little
bone
bit of
folder.
friction and a little bit of warmth. Ideally, we would use a bone folder.
But I forgot to bring one home.
Right, but you'll have one at school. So that is how then when you open the book up, it's going to look like that. And if you see any bubbles or anything like that, you just keep massaging it so that it can, and then your other cover, which we will do at school, will go on. I think this is the right stuff. And
Just have to make sure we line up that edge.
yeah,
The spine.
and it would be like this.
A nice sandwich.
And a nice sandwich. And then this should open up nicely like so. And then by making the cover and your pages the same height, they will act as they will stabilize it standing up.
And And there you have it.